How to have a beautiful mind. Chapter 1. How to agree. To have a beautiful mind, you must genuinely seek to find points of agreement with the person to whom you are talking. Surprisingly, this is the most difficult aspect of all. It is so difficult because the agreement must be genuine and not just psychophantic pretense. It is difficult because the motivation to do this is contrary to most people's natural inclinations. We can look at two extremes of agreement and disagreement. You are so right. Agree with everything you say. Completely agree with you. Absolutely right. Agree 100%. If you agree with everything, there is not much of a discussion, not much of a conversation, and not much of an exchange of views. The other person might as well be giving a lecture. Nice as it may sound, your contribution is not very significant. Then there is the other extreme. Yes, but. Totally disagree. You are wrong there. Not is, but is not so. That is not so. This is the person who makes a point, disagreeing with everything. That is it. This highly argumentative person seeks to demonstrate superiority through disagreement. Too often academics or highly educated people behave in this manner because they have been encouraged to do so. This type of mind is intensely irritating and is far from being a beautiful mind. You need to be somewhere between two extremes. You do not have to agree with everything. You should not disagree with everything. The need to be right. This is very much tied up with ego. An argument is a battle between egos. When you agree, you seem to submitting to the other point of view. So you lose. When you disagree with, you are asserting your ego and indicating that you may be superior. All this is reinforced by the emphasis on argument and debate in school and also in society, whether in government, the laws, the law courts, or the media. In government, for instance, an opposition party will often seek to disagree with those in power, whatever the circumstances. Most people are now coming to see this as extremely silly. If you insist on always winning an argument, you end up with nothing more than you started with, except showing off your arguing ability. When you lose an argument, you may well have gained a new point of view. Being right all the time is not the most important thing in the world. It is certainly not very beautiful. A discussion should be a genuine attempt to explore a subject rather than a battle between competing egos. The logic bubble. I created the term logic bubble in the previous book. When someone does something you do not like or with which you do not agree, it is easy to label that person as stupid, ignorant, or malevolent, but that person may be acting logically within his or her logic bubble. That bubble is made up of the perceptions, values, needs, and experience of that person. If you make a real effort to see inside that bubble and to see where that person is coming from, you usually see the logic of the person's position. In the school program for teaching thinking, Cognitive Research Trust program, there are tools which broaden perception so the thinker sees a wider picture and acts accordingly. One of these tools is OPV, which encourages the thinker to see the other person's point of view. We have numerous examples where a serious fight came to a sudden end when the combatants who had learned the methods decided to do an OPV on each other. A very similar process to understanding the logic bubble of the other party. Special circumstances. This is the major way in which disagreement can be turned into agreement. Someone makes a statement with which you immediately disagree. For example, women believe in psychics and fortune tellers more than men do. Your instant reaction is that this is untrue. It may be that women have more fun with fortune tellers even if they do not believe in them. Women with somewhat dull lives may enjoy the new events offered. In the past, women did not always have full control over their lives, so they had to wait for things to happen to them, and the fortune teller would suggest events or incidents. When women had no political or military status, their only source of power was the occult. This meant that they developed the areas of sorcery and witchcraft because these gave power. Note the success of Harry Potter books. Younger children who have little real influence enjoy the idea of wielding the power of wizardry and spells. These are all special circumstances within which you might agree that some women do show more interest in psychics than men do. In a different conversation, someone suggests that arranged marriages are a good idea. Your immediate reaction is to disagree because you believe in romance, love, and free choice. Then you consider some special circumstances. In isolated communities, the chance of meeting a suitable bride or groom might be slight. Relatives and a marriage broker might be better placed to identify potential couples. A senior Indian businesswoman who had been educated at Columbia and Yale once told me, in the West you start off with love, violins in the sunset, and then it is downwards from then on. We start off in neutral and then we invest and make the relationship ever stronger. We have to try. So another special circumstance might be that both parties grow up in a culture where such betrothals are an expectation. You may also want to make a clear distinction between arranged and forced marriages. In practice, you make an effort to find some special circumstances within which the statement does make sense, and then you agree with the statement, but only for those circumstances. Special values. Here you're saying if I had those values, I would agree with you. This process is similar to the search for special circumstances. Instead of seeking the special circumstances, you seek out the special values which would allow you to agree. For example, telling a lie is never acceptable. That is a moral principle. You can agree or disagree. As a matter of interest, philosophers over the ages have disagreed on this point. Some say that telling a lie is always wrong. Others say that you may tell a lie for the greater good. Philosophers use the following traditional exaggeration. Suppose a murderer is pursuing a potential victim and asks you, which way the victim has gone. Should you tell the murderer the correct or incorrect way? Here we see a set of conflicting values: moral principles, pragmatism, value of human life. So you spell out the different values and show that you would agree under one set of values but not under another set of values. You may still give your opinion. Special experience. It is always difficult to argue with special experience. A person with years of experience looking after battered women may suggest that they often go back because their self-esteem is so low they need the relationship. As a listener, you may feel that they go back because they have nowhere else to go. You can agree that in some instances the self-esteem factor may be relevant, but not in all cases. Sweeping generalization. It is usually very difficult to agree with sweeping generalizations. Unfortunately, our logic habits demand that we think in this way. All crocodiles are vicious. All puppies are messy. No politician can be trusted. Men are logical. Women are intuitive. The latter statement is exactly the sort of generalization with which most people would disagree. But you can disagree with generalization as such and still agree with some aspects of it. For example, women can be as logical as men when necessary, but also tend to be more intuitive. Or men usually work in groups and logic is a way of convincing the other members of the group to go along with a plan. Women tend to act on their own and can rely on intuition as they do not need to persuade anyone else. Or I agree that women do tend to have more scanning mind that takes it more factors instead of just moving from one point to another. So in this way you can disagree with sweeping generalizations, but show agreement with some of the implications. In real life, there are many gradations between none and all. These might be none, few, some, many, most, majority, and large. Unfortunately, our Greek-based logical system, with its inclusions and exclusions, cannot deal with such gradations. All fire burns, therefore the fire will burn you. No sand is good to eat, so do not eat this sand. This system has been wonderful in science and technology, where properties are permanent, but much less useful in human affairs, where there are interactive loops. The person you call an idiot is no longer the same person you call an idiot. Dogmatism, rigidity, prejudice, and bigotry all arise from this box-type thinking. Something is in the box and forever, or outside the box and forever. To be fair, this is very useful thinking, and so we do have to use it. But the beautiful mind sees below the rigidity of the box structures and explores things in a more subtle way. How to agree. Summary. Generally seek to find points of agreement in what the other person is saying. There is no contribution if you simply agree with everything. To disagree at every point is irritating and boring. Being argumentative is not at all beautiful. There are better methods of exploring subject. There is no need to be right all the time. Remove your ego from the discussion and focus instead on the subject matter. Make a real effort to see where the other person is coming from. Explore the person's logic bubble. See if there are any circumstances in which the other person's view might be right. Spell out each circumstance and show your agreement under those circumstances. C. See if there are any special values which might make the other person's view valid. Show that under those values you would agree, but also have your own opinion. Acknowledge the value of someone's special experience and treat this as a strong possibility but not necessarily complete. Reject a sweeping generalization, but see whether you agree with any of the implications or any impact of generalization. Take a genuine delight in discovering points of agreement, even when there is overall disagreement. Changing your perceptions to look at things in a different way is an important step in reaching possible agreement.